Hey, Roger here from Roger's Hot Rod Garage, back in cold Germany after the Texas road trip. And let me show you what we got going on here today. So, you ever have one of those days where like everything is going perfectly fine? The soldering iron works, you got your cable stripped off, you cut your wires exactly to the right length, you kind of guessed at it, but it worked anyway. Call it just a little bit of experience. Not bragging here, but I am almost 60 years old. So check this out. What I've got right here is I went ahead and cut these rear panels right now. They're actually in pretty good shape. I've got all these things fixed up, but let me go around to the other side and show you what we're doing right here. Fenders are back on right now, so I've got all those welded up. I've got everything welded up right here. You can see this is pretty nice and neat. I got the jack point back in here right now. If you look up in there, pretty clean up in here. Tires are on it, got the oil leak fixed on the thing because I just honked those bolts down that hold those two cases together on the bottom on that opposing boxer engine that is a Volkswagen Bug. But look, I got my soldering iron ready to do some soldering here because if I do any kind of electrical work on cars, especially stereo systems, I just solder everything because that way you ain't got to worry about it in 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years when some stuff vibrates loose. But look, what I did right here, I'm gonna pull one of these out. I got them ready to go right here, ready to solder. And so check this out. There's one that's pretty clean. And what I did is I took those, what do they call them? Warrior Series Hiphonics. Now, I usually use Mac Audio, but they had supply chain delivery problems. So I couldn't get the traditional Mac Audio that I use over here. I got one set here right now. Those are the coaxial ones with the tweeters and the crossovers. You see that right there? Didn't want to use that because it just didn't look right in here. So I got these right here. I think these are like about $50, $55, $60. It's a good size speaker because that radio from Retro Classics right here is actually a 4-channel amplifier. So it's got 25 watts times 4. What that means, if I don't hook these speakers up in the back, I'm only using 50% of the sound capability out of that radio. Now again, this thing is not gonna be a boom boom box heading down the road, you know, thumping, but I do get the stereo separation because it's gonna be over here and over here. And as you can see, I got this thing all DynoMatted in. I put the cavity sealer down here. That's basically wax sprayed all in here. I painted up in here. So now I am ready for reassembly. And again, it's one of those perpetual problems and you gotta do it sequentially. So I can't put the carpet in until I did the welding because I don't want to catch new carpet on fire, which by the way, the carpet will be here next week. I ordered oatmeal brown, which is exactly the carpet that's in here right here. You see that carpet? It's called oatmeal brown. So I got that coming. I got it DynoMatted out. This right here, the shiny stuff, it's not wet. That's actually called Brunex, which is kind of like a Rust-Oleum preventive rusting. And if you see down here, nothing's welded up in here. This is all solid floors back here except for this little area right up in here. And yeah, that's my welds right here coming all the way to about right here, and there's where the stop point is. So everything underneath here is sealed. I've got my original jack point right here, and I got my fenders back on here right now. They were actually in pretty good shape. I had to knock a couple of dings out. You saw that under the video. And I've got these mount points right here. This right here, everything's basically ready to go. But what I do have is I've got L423, which is bamboo green. And out of the 7 or 8 colors back in 1957, I think that's bamboo green is what they call it. So anyway, I got a can of that showing up in an aerosol from a company over here, basically eBay Germany over here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a test spray on here, probably right up in here. That's my bamboo green up in here, just to see if it actually is the match. And if I get that, obviously what I wanna do is I don't wanna have this aftermarket paint they put on here, probably 1980, 1977, I don't know. I want to get back to this original beautiful patina bamboo green. Anyway, I'm getting off track, a little attention deficit disorder, high speed going on. Back to these. So what I did is I spray painted these. So I got them all cleaned up. I sanded them a little bit with about 120 grit paper, put some of the thinner on it so that paint would actually adhere to it. This is plastic, this is metal inside. And if you ask me, that actually looks pretty decent. And again, that's an old cover or side panel here. So yeah, I went ahead and cut it. So put your likes and your comments and your hate mail in there. And what I got right down here is I got these speakers because they're low profile. And what you see right here is just my leftover scrap. So this is a nice heavy piece right now. And of course, I identified myself right here in case somebody in 15, 20, 30 years takes this panel apart to do something with it. Like, who's the idiot who cut the holes in the panel? They'll know it was me because my name is right there. There's the date. So forth, so forth, so forth. I got to spell little right. I forgot the L in here. Let me take care of that real quick. Otherwise, I think I'm a complete idiot 40 years from now. Anyway, I'm gonna stop yapping right now. Do a little soldering right here. Push these back up in here, and then clean up the inside of this thing. And go ahead and DynoMat the rest of this entire floor. DynoMat up here, and I can put the carpet in next week. And that's about it. And I'll show you what that install looks like in the front here. Nice and clean. I did pop one little bitty hole right here. There's my little rubber grommet here. And this folds over here, and this right here is going to have that cover on it right here, and there's the fastener, so you won't see any of this stuff back here, although it actually looks pretty decent. And obviously I got my hubcaps all dinged out here. There was a whole bunch of little dings in them, but took my time with a rubber hammer and got everything pretty well cleaned out. Now that's kind of rusty back there. What it is, I hit a wire wheel on that, and then hit that same stuff called Brunix. That'll be around for the next 100 years as far as I'm concerned, and I ain't worried about that. I don't think in 100 years we'll be driving internal combustion engines, but who knows. Anyway, hey, that's it right now. I'll get to you just a little bit later on when I get this thing put in here. And again, I can't play my my Larry Fleet or my country music or my classic rock and roll. Otherwise, YouTube doesn't like that. Anyway, let me knock this out real quick. All right, folks, look, this is what I call attention to detail. This right here is my little hole I drilled in here. My rubber grommet is right underneath here. That stops it from chafing or anything. I got these little plastic cable ties right here. There's one of them right here. And just a little bit of, these are just pop rivets right here to stop this from looking like all crappy and everything, although you really don't see it, just to keep it out of the way, because there's no way. I don't want to take a piece of tape and stick up in there, but check this out. This one goes about right there. So that's where the hole's gonna go, about right there. Just a little bitty hole, and that horsehair blanket or that insulation, what the old school DynoMat is, literally that's what it was. So I'll come down here and I'll find my other little rivet here. Yeah, and I'm kind of like ass backwards up in here. So tell you what, it gets just a little bit more problematic when you're a little bit older. And then that little hole I drilled right there, see if I can find that right there. There we go. Got it nice and neat and straight. Bob's your uncle. See, is that not neat? And again, that helps me sleep at night. Now what I'll do is I'll take that last one right here and I'll push it right up against here like there. And then my carpet, it'll be right behind my carpet and you won't see that anymore. So I'll put the last one about right there where my little pinky's at right now. Got that last little hole drilled right there. Pop rivet in there. Push that sucker up in that hole. There you go. All right. So, like I said, I soldered everything. I'm just going to touch this really lightly up on here. Right there's one. And then the fatter one here is always the positive. I mean, all you're doing is completing the circuit. Raise it up on there. Clear that solder out of there. There it is. And now, see the red line on here? The red one, I've already got a little solder dipped on it. We'll just go right up on here. Let me see if I can actually show you that. Hold on, right there we go. It doesn't make a difference. I'm gonna put it on the back and then hold it on until that thing actually bleeds on there a little bit. There we go. Move, hold, hold. And it's on there forever. Now, people are saying, well, what if you got to remove the speakers? I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to go in here and remove this, especially since I soldered them. So they're not going to wiggle loose. But let's see if I can get my soldering iron on my other hand over here just to show you this kind of awkward position here. But there we go. That'll work right there. Put a little solder on there. Again, if you got your solder already on here, that third hand that most people don't have will work just fine for you. Pull it off of there. Leave it for just a second. and that is soldered super tight. That'll never come off of here, won't vibrate off of here. And the only thing I gotta do right now is get this solder iron out of here, and that's basically it. So now I'm gonna move my camera here for just a second, adjust it, and now I've got to take this one, turn around here, put the excess cable up in here, and press it up in here. And I'm gonna give myself a little, I'm gonna wash my hands before I take my thumb and push up on that nicely cleaned panel on the outside, and that'll be done, and I'll cut the music back on. All right, so just running this wire, speaker wire. This one goes over here to the driver's side. This one right here, I'll tuck underneath here, and I'm not complaining. This is not difficult at all. The box out the way so I can see what the hell I'm doing. There it is right there. Coming behind the battery over there. And that'll be it for that one. Hey, one more time just for practice here. So there's my solder. Put a kink in that so I can grab a hold of it in a hurry. There's my red line. Pull this one right here. And I don't really need this much on this end right here, but I'll show you what I usually do. And that one right there. Right there. Put away the strippers. Twist it around a couple times like this. Then I fold it on itself. That way you've got more surface area for that solder to adhere to and make that electrical connection. And again, red, and if it doesn't have a streak on, traditionally that is the ground or the return of the ones and zeros. So just like I did earlier, I'm just going to touch this up just a little bit, put just a little bit of solder on there. That way you don't have to smoke that thing when you got only two arms. There it is. Grab this other end right here, and now I got to do my little trick here. Hold on. Now I'm not breathing when I'm doing that, so appreciate all the comments about my medical conditions. I don't have any. Here we go again. I'm missing that third arm. Okay. Now, drop the solder out the mouth. Move this just a little bit closer. Reposition the camera. And I'll just go ahead and actually solder that on there. Again, the thicker one is the positive. You can see that blade on there. Turn that sucker around, and right there, get my positive on there. I move it down a little bit like that, then move it off. The trick here is to hold that sucker on there until it sets up. Okay, that one is good forever. And the same thing on the ground side over here. And the little glob of solder I got on there is going to do wonders for going onto that terminal. And again, by doing this, you probably never have the need to ever go back there again. So that's on the good. That's on the good. Bob's your uncle, and that's what we're talking about. Let me check this out real quick here. Just as only for test purposes, so that I'll mute. Make sure the speakers are actually playing. Yep, that one's playing fine. This one's playing just fine right here. And obviously the two right back here are playing, so let me hit the mute button here real quick. Again, that was just for test purposes. So all of these are playing. This is working just fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna align all those tabs in the back. I'll show you what I'm talking about right here, all these tabs. If you don't get those exactly right and try to pop them in there, they'll bend and you get to start the process all over again. So that's the only thing I have left right now. And then I'll hit some DynoMat in here, and then we'll go from there. Dashboard is looking pretty spiffy right now if you ask me, but love the patina right. Not too much, not too little, but look, the price of that speaker or those speaker set, $49.90, 50 euros, which is about $55 in the exchange rate today. Don't need these instructions right here on how to hook up a stereo. Been doing all that my entire life, whether I was a 12-year-old putting in stereos or whether I'm an adult putting in stereos. But anyway, Bob's your uncle. This one's almost completed. All right, this is looking pretty doggone good, and it sounds really, really good up here. Let me cut this down. So check this out. All the speakers work. Obviously, I got the thing cut all the way down. Look at that. That looks lickety-split, spiffy good, to use some North Carolina terminology here. That is super cool. And the same thing on this side over here. And now the only thing I could do is, you look, there's actually no tabs holding us down here, but that's where the seat presses right up against the bottom right here, so I'm not worried about that. This is actually in here. I got the old school look. I did not cut my front door panels. Yes, I cut my back door panels, but I painted them speaker covers to kind of match the kind of, you know, look I've gotten here, the old look. Those, the carpet in the back will be replaced. I'll put the DynoMat in here tomorrow. Like I said earlier, the carpet shows up. And then check this out. So Sven at the upholstery shop hooked me up. I picked this pattern out along with the wife. This looks spiffy good. This is kind of like a leatherette down here. I can't say anything bad about these things. Right here is the back. Hold on, let me see if I can flip this over for you. Got a piece of wood right here. I still got to put my little metal strips down here, so when you fold the seat down, you can push some stuff on the back of it. But look at that. That's looking pretty doggone good. And this is a kind of like a texture. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but pretty cool. So there's obviously new foam on both sides. And then here's the front seat. I don't know if this is the passenger side. And that's the driver's side. Now remember, before I took this to the shop, I actually hit this with a paint. That you know, whatever you call that. Turquoise, brownish, beige paint in here. Got a little bit of sanding due here. I'll knock that out tomorrow, but this is pretty well smooth out here. I've got my little glide coat on here right now. I can actually feel a slight depression right about here, but that's what I'm going to sand at tomorrow. I've got my semaphores, my little Seitenwinkel as the Germans call them, but Americans call them semaphores. And I think that's about it. Go ahead and shut the shop down, clean everything up right now, and call it an evening here at about 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening. This is the 29th of November, 2024, folks. All right, folks, that is super cold out here. I think in USA terms it's called Fahrenheit. And man, look at this crap. I checked the thermometer this morning. It's 15 Fahrenheit, which I think calculates like -3 or -5 Celsius. So this is the luxury I enjoy. Nice and warm in here in Rogers Hot Rod Garage. So it's Sunday morning here, the 30th of November, 2024. I got my fireplace just cranking up and roaring. I'll close this off a little bit since I just got this started. Got my little ventilator back here blowing the heat around. And I showed you guys that last night, but the goal for this morning, for a couple hours, is to take that DynoMat stuff and just start cutting it out and filling out this inside area. I showed everybody stereo last night. It's still in there from last night. I still love the way that thing turned out and looked right here. But look, everything's nice and neat and tucked in right there. So let me go ahead and start the DynoMat project for this morning. All right, hey. So I've got this stuff called DynoMat, although this is not the company DynoMat. This is some eBay off-brand, but look, if you ask me, it's kind of like the same stuff. It looks, smells, feels, has the same texture as DynoMat at literally a fraction of the cost. This stuff, for this entire roll right here, I think it's like $25, 20 euros. So I've got 3 rolls of stuff. I'm not gonna use all those rolls, and it comes obviously in these rolled up mats, so you can cut it whatever section you want. So I've got 2 rolls sitting out here. I've got a 3rd roll right over here in case I need it, but I don't think so. I'm going to put 1 roll in here as sound dampening inside the little oval window above, just to make it a little bit more pleasing and make it a little bit more firm, so you don't have that little clang clang. Well, actually that sounds pretty good right here, but anyway, the DynoMat's going to go down here in a couple minutes, folks. So check this out. This right here, if you look right here, that little lip's supposed to go over top of there. When the carpet goes on here, it holds the carpet down. So this one was completely
I wouldn't say rotted out, rusted out in several different sections. This is all solid, but this little piece that they put in here, you can see it's a little flimsy. So what I went ahead and did, made a decision. I ground that off nice and flush. The carpet will come right about here, and I'll give myself a nice little piece of aluminum trim and put it right in here. Maybe even have that piece in here, I don't know, but that'll be a little nicer than having this flimsy stuff over here. And then I'll have just a couple of screws, just like a Chevy has when you come on the door seal right here. So that's one thing I just knocked out. I went ahead and painted my pedals down there on the back side of them, little attention to detail stuff. And let me show you over here what I'm thinking about doing here. So this one, this is what it looks like right here. And if you look at this one's actually in decent shape, except for, I don't know if the camera's catching that. That's loose, that's broken right there. And if you look on the inside right here, I don't know if the camera's gonna capture that. There's little, like, there's places eaten up right here. So I'm thinking when that nice new fresh carpet is in here, it's gonna look like crap. So I think I'm gonna do the same thing I did over there and do it over here. So I got my little side cutter right here. I'm gonna trim right in here like this, and then just go ahead and take this out and do the same thing. I'll get a nice little piece of aluminum, and it'll be like a little L-shaped bracket that goes from here to here with a nice little rounded edge on it. Anyway, so safety first. Got my little glasses on, and I think I can maybe get underneath her like this. We'll cut it like that. That means all that crap's gonna be flying right here. Let me see what that looks like. Alright, just spraying a little bit of Rust-Oleum up in here to seal that little crack up in there. And again, this is all solid up in here, so I'm not worried about it. I just want to put a little bit of where I got that little shiny area where the paint, so the stuff doesn't rust underneath the carpet. And right there where my finger is where the carpet will go to, and then I'll get that little bitty piece of aluminum, which I haven't found yet, to put on there to kind of like cut that edge off right there. Alright, so look, this stuff sat in front of the fireplace long enough right here. This is again my simulated DynoMat, and I think this is one big giant roll. Yeah, it is. Not a problem at all, because then I can determine exactly what I want. But look, before I get started on this little project, let me turn it around the other way. Is this right here, the carpet is the newest member of Roger's Hot Rod Garage. And here's why. In Germany, they have what's called Sperrmüll, which basically translates to bulk trash pickup in the US of A. And when I do my little walks through the neighborhood here, this is sitting on the side of the road. So long story short, what's not good enough for somebody's living room is definitely 100% good enough for Roger's Hot Rod Garage for me to kneel on instead of kneeling on the concrete down here. Tell you why. Because the old carpet, which is sitting way over there, got so greasy, so dirty, so much paint on it, that every time I would kneel down on it with my jeans, my Levi 501s, I'd have little black marks right here in the kneecap. So obviously I got a counseling statement for the wife on that one. So long story short, the new addition, but let me get busy right here. Look, utility knife is your tools. To cut this DynoMat is perfectly fine. One of these little roller things right here. Obviously, tape measure and a magic marker or a Sharpie. I won't show you that, but look, let me flip this thing around and start the process of basically just rolling this in here and cutting this underneath the carpet here. That's what I'm going to do right now. All right, hey look, take a break from the time-lapse photography. I've got this pretty well
finished up on the beginning right here. This is only like about 30-35 minutes of time, but this is one of those jobs that's kind of like satisfying. So cut my little strip. This is exactly 6 inches, and I'll just lay that and get that edge nice and straight on here. There you go. And then just fold that on around there. Look at that. Put the camera over here and put the camera over here. And then I'll just fold this nice and neat down into here and get that little wedge going down there. Wait a minute, I kind of screwed up right there, so gotta cut myself a little bitty right there. And that way I can push this one here. There you go. Nice and smooth. And then the same thing, I'm just gonna put an angle on this one and shove that sucker in that little hole right there. And I'm not gonna say Bob's your uncle, but that one is done. And again, you gotta watch yourself, because if you slide back and forth with your thumb, the edge of the stuff will cut the bejesus out of you. And that's basically it. Yeah, so that one's done. Get your little fingers down up in there. So this is not that difficult of work to be done here. It's just time consuming, but it's fun actually. So get this down in here, get this little lip down in here, and not quite on its edge right here, so let me do that right there. Okay, now push that up in that corner right there. I'll just have to trim that piece off right there in the corner. And again, I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not trying to make this into a Mercedes-Benz quite, but if I can knock out some of the noise, that'll be ideal. All right, folks, let me go ahead and close this video out this weekend, because this is pretty successful in here. I've got this thing DynoMatted out, or whatever the equivalent eBay version of that is. It's some good stuff. There's my scraps right down here. I got to do a little cleaning up right now. But again, it's got this little tar back to it. It sticks. And you just cut it to whatever size you wanted, and that's what I've done. Now, this is kind of tedious work in here, but it's kind of satisfying because you can see your own progress being made. It looks like an operating room in here, but nevertheless, I probably added about 10, 12, maybe even 13 pounds of weight just by putting this stuff in here. But if you ever worked with this stuff called DynoMat before, this insulation material, man, it makes your stereo sound better. It makes your car nice and tight without all the squeaks and everything in it. So this is probably about an hour and a half of work in here today, cleaning this thing out. And I got all the rust repair done on the car. I've got the DynoMat down. Sometime next week, I'll pick up my carpet from the Kefa Clinic, which is right over the hill behind that black wall over there. Speakers are in. I got my stereo system in here. The motor runs. I do have a clutch and a throwout bearing I want to put in to try some of that vibration when I take off on it. But that's basically it. Look, this turned out pretty doggone clean right here. Got it painted. There's no rust up underneath it. So Bob's your uncle, and I go ahead and shut this video down. Thanks for watching my channel. Really appreciate that. I've been posting a lot of videos like mad because of all my road trip content from last month, the month of basically November. We were in a place called Texas and cruising around in my 59 Impala. But this is what I live for. This is just loads of fun right now. But let me go ahead and wash the hands, get upstairs for dinner, and then do a little Christmas market stuff here in Germany. So thanks for watching from Roger's Hot Rod Garage. Thanks a lot, appreciate it.